Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a 1 month postpartum update slash a 1 month baby update. And we're going to start with her because I like talking about her more. She is just so adorable. Look at her. So let's go ahead and get into it. So from the second she was born, she was more at risk for infection because if you guys don't know and you didn't watch my birth vlog, the second we got to the hospital, I was 10 centimeters dilated and she came out within 5 minutes in a triage room. So the pediatrician told us that she's more at risk for infections because she came in a non-sterile environment. So they wanted to keep us for the full 2 days just to make sure that she didn't spike a fever or anything. And then he told us to watch her closely for the next week or so, and she ended up being fine. So we had nothing to worry about, thank God. I'm going to try really hard next time not to give birth in a triage room. So next we're going to talk about her breastfeeding journey. And again, if you didn't watch my birth vlog, she came out so fast that she didn't have time to adjust properly. So she came out purple and she wasn't breathing properly. So for the first hour of her life, she was with the nurses. They were putting her on the CPAP machine, so she didn't get to breastfeed right away. But when we got to our room, they brought her to us and she latched on right away. She has been doing really well breastfeeding, and her weight gain is to show for that. She has gained all her weight back. She is one chunky girl already, and she's only a month old. Speaking of her weight, she was born at 7 pounds 6.5 ounces, and when we left the hospital she went down to 7 pounds 1 ounce. And then 4 days later, she had her first appointment and she was back up to 7 pounds 7 ounces. And then 1 week later, she was at 7 pounds 15 ounces. And we haven't went back to the doctor since, but I'm sure she's doing fine. Like, my arms are hurting just holding her because she feels so heavy. I'm sure she's like 10 pounds now, but I could be exaggerating, I don't know. She just feels really heavy and everybody tells me she's so tiny and I'm like, no, she has gotten so big so fast. Like, look at her. This is a 0 to 3 month outfit and she's wearing size 1 diapers to show for that. So next we're going to talk about how she sleeps. So from when she was born, she's always slept pretty well, and in my eyes that means like waking up 2 to 3 times a night. It's not much. I get my full night's rest and I feel fine when I wake up in the morning. So she'll fall asleep probably around like 7 p.m. but I don't go to sleep till 10 p.m. So she wakes up for the first time around 12 a.m. and then she'll wake up again around 5 a.m. and both times she gets a diaper change and she eats and then she goes right back to sleep, and then we get up for the day at 7 a.m. Now this takes me to how she acts during the day. It is not the best. She is really fussy and wants to be held all day until 1 p.m. I have to wear her while I make breakfast. I have to hold her on the couch. Like, I can't really do much until after lunch and around 1 p.m. Then she takes a nap from like 1 to 4 p.m. and that's when I get the most time to get everything done, and that's when I've been doing homeschooling and everything because that's the only time that I have. So when she takes that long nap after 4 p.m. she's just in and out of sleep until I go to bed, and she's really good. She's not really fussy after that. So I don't know what it is about the mornings, but she just wants to be held all of the time. So the last update about her is that unfortunately she caught her first cold. This is what I was terrified about having a baby in October, going into RSV season, going into the cold months. I don't want to deal with a baby being sick. Like, she's so new, she's so small. I didn't want her to get sick, but Logan is in soccer and he caught a cold from one of his soccer buddies. So he brought that home and Briella ended up getting a fever with that cold. So this week I've been extremely scared. I contacted the pediatrician and I was like, what do I do if she gets a fever? They told me I'd have to go to the ER and that she would need a spinal tap and all these things. So I've been doing my best to keep them apart, and Sam's been sleeping with the both of them in Logan's room just so we can stay separated, and we've done a pretty good job. Although yesterday, or no, 2 days ago now, she started being a little bit congested. She never got a fever, thank God, and I never got a fever. The only thing I will say is that we are both congested and it was waking her up a lot last night. I was really scared. I would prop her head up on her snuggle me, and her not sleeping on a flat surface just had me awake the entire night just because, you know, she needs to sleep on her back and it just scares me. So I was up pretty much the entire night, did not sleep well, but She is doing okay today, and I'm really hoping for a better night tonight, and I really hope this is as far as it goes. I'm hoping that the congestion is all she gets and no fever. So we will see, and I will keep you guys updated on that. So that is the update on Miss Elena. I'm trying not to wake her up so that she doesn't get fussy, but she is so cute and I'm obsessed. I've really been taking in the newborn stage because it truly does just fly by. So yeah, now we're gonna move on to the update about me. So first, I want to say that my postpartum journey has been pretty rough, not really mentally, but definitely physically, and I'm going to get into all of that. But for starters, I gave birth in a triage room, like I said in the beginning of this video, and they also told me that I was more at risk for infections because I gave birth in a non-sterile environment. So they told me to watch out for infections for down there and just fever and all of that. So for the first couple of days, everything was going good. My bleeding was normal. I was feeling really good and just everything was going well. I told you guys I'm more prone to getting mastitis, so I made sure to be pumping a lot and breastfeeding as much as I could just to prevent that infection. But then 7 days postpartum approaches and I develop a fever and really painful nipples and boobs and everything, so everything was pointing towards mastitis. So I went ahead and called my OBGYN and just said, hey, I have this going on. They sent in antibiotics, and that's very normal for me. It's happened in both of my other postpartum journeys as well. So I know what to do and I handled it. So that was at 7 days postpartum, and then at 10 days postpartum, on the antibiotics, not having fever anymore, I developed another temperature and I was like, what is going on? My stomach was also very messed up from being on those antibiotics. I won't get into that detailed very much, but I'm sure you guys know what I mean by the antibiotics messed my stomach up. So I was having that going on, and then also I forgot to mention at 7 days postpartum, my bleeding pretty much tapered off. At 10 days postpartum, when I developed that fever, I started bleeding again. So I didn't know if I had an infection in my uterus or what was going on. I didn't know if I had potentially C. diff from being on antibiotics. So I went to the hospital and they did all the testing, and I was unable to give them a stool sample, just wasn't able to go. And so we didn't end up finding out if I had C. diff, and if I did, it was very mild and it healed on its own. And then as for my infection potentially being in my uterus, I got an ultrasound and they told me that they saw something in my uterus and it could potentially be left over from my placenta or whatever, and that I need to contact my OBGYN and follow up with them. So I started freaking out. I was like, if there's something in there, like, they need to handle it. I'm just beyond terrified at this point that I'm going to get sepsis from something being stuck in my uterus. So I called my OBGYN when I was still at the hospital, and they're like, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get back to you until morning. So they call me in the morning and they say, it's normal postpartum stuff, you're good. As long as the fever went away, it was probably from the mastitis still just kicking in and all that. So I was like, okay. So from that point forward, I was fine. My fever went away, my mastitis cleared up, everything was going good. And then my husband was home with us because he took 2 weeks off to be with me postpartum, and he was out cleaning the garage, and I went to go check on him, and I ended up cutting my foot on a metal door, and I freaked out because the next day, where the wound was, there was a red streak going up my leg, and if you know anything about that, it is terrifying. It could be something really dangerous, and it could happen within hours, just, you know, terrifying stuff. So I went to the hospital again, and they just told me that I needed to get the Tdap shot. So they gave me the Tdap shot, and then they also gave me some bacitracin, Neosporin basically, to be putting on the wound, and then that healed. So after that, I was like, I am not going back to the doctor. So I was on top of pumping, breastfeeding, making sure I'm not getting mastitis again, and making sure I'm not walking around the house barefoot, because I don't want that to happen again. So up until a couple of days ago, everything was fine, but I got another fever, and I didn't know if it was from the kids' cold, if I was just getting sick, or if I had mastitis, in which both of my boobs were very painful, so I just suspected mastitis. I called my OBGYN, got more antibiotics, and I was like, I don't want to take these because it messed my stomach up last time, and I know you can become like antibiotic resistant, and I don't want to keep taking them because they're not harmless. They can cause a lot of problems. So I told myself I have the antibiotics just in case, but that night and for the next day I was pumping like every 2 hours on the dot. I was pumping, breastfeeding when she wanted, and it ended up clearing up on its own. Thank God, because I did not want to take those antibiotics. I'm still keeping an eye out for the symptoms of an infection just in case, and I have the antibiotics just in case. So that's everything I've gone through physically, and now mentally I wouldn't say it's too bad, but I'm definitely having postpartum anxiety just because of the ER trips and just being scared for my health. And then, like I said, having her in October going into the colder months, her being prone to getting sick and getting very sick because she's so new to the world and so small. I am having anxiety about that. So postpartum anxiety is definitely here for me. So hopefully no more ER trips and hopefully no more illnesses. Like, I'm praying that this is the only cold we get until she's old enough to at least take Tylenol, because I don't want to have to go to the ER with her. So now we're going to talk about my weight. I ended my pregnancy at 160 pounds, so that's the most I've ever gained in a pregnancy. So I was really scared that it wasn't going to come off. But now I'm 133 pounds and my appetite is pretty much non-existent, which isn't good because breastfeeding, like, I don't want my milk supply to go down, so I have to literally set reminders on my phone to remind me to eat, remind me to drink a bunch of water. And it's been rough, okay, because I was pretty much starving every single day, every single hour of the day during my pregnancy, and then the second I give birth, my appetite just goes away, and now I'm not hungry anymore when I need to be hungry because I need to be feeding this baby. I need to have enough nutrients to have a good milk supply. So thankfully I'm not struggling with my milk supply. I need to get on top of eating though and making sure I'm getting my water intake and my vitamins, just so I don't have to struggle with that. So I'm going to go give her to my husband really quick so I can show you guys a little stomach update from postpartum. Okay, so here's how my stomach is looking. I still have a little bit of extra skin here, but I'm healing pretty well. So here's how the front looks, and here is the other side. So that is my 1 month postpartum update slash my 1 month baby update. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys.